You or someone you love needs help for an addiction. Where do you turn? Foundations Recovery Network offers individualized treatment for the whole person. Our goal goes beyond short-term sobriety. We address substance abuse and co-occurring mental health issues together, providing a firm foundation for long-term recovery. The first step is often the hardest, but we're here with a free assessment, insurance information, and treatment options. Our confidential helpline is available 24/7. So call 877-714-1318 and discover the Foundations Recovery Network difference today.
Yo, what up? Thanks for tuning in today, and thank you for supporting the show. Big shout out to the homie Shane for having faith in me to start this new show. It's a great honor, and I'm super pumped to begin this new adventure. Mad love to the listeners out there that kept asking Sober Guy for more Seth. This is Seth Manter, and you are listening to the very first Tuesday episode of Sober Guy Radio. As a very regular listener and guest of That Sober Guy, I've always envisioned myself as a host. Because K-Fuck Radio played so loud in my head, I never took that plunge. And you, the listeners, played a huge part in turning down the volume, which in turn has allowed me to step out of my comfort zone. I'm super stoked to get this shit underway. First and foremost, I'd like to say that by no means am I an addiction specialist, recovery counselor, or mental health professional. Just a regular dude that struggled with addictions to substances for many years. And it's my intention to use this platform to share my story and the story of others in a loving and compassionate manner to spread the word of self-recovery. I hope to share how I obtained sobriety, how I maintain a meaningful, sober life. And I truly believe that if I share one thing that has the opportunity of helping just one person out there with their struggles, that I have succeeded. So on today's show, super pumped, I have Brandon Demchack. Brandon is a writer, director, and veteran of the Iraq War. Brandon enlisted in the Army when he turned 21 and served as an infantry paratrooper in the renowned 82nd Airborne. In 2010, Brandon deployed in support of Operation Unified Response, providing humanitarian and security services to the people of Haiti following the devastating earthquake. In 2011, Brandon deployed to Iraq as an infantryman, right? Infantryman?
Yeah.
For Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation New Dawn. Brandon was honorably discharged in 2015 from the military and was ready to take on the world. Unfortunately, the seeds of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, had other plans for Brandon. What Brandon and his fellow paratroopers had experienced overseas was not an easy burden to bear. Like many of us, Brandon turned to alcohol to quiet what can only be described as a noise inside his head. Not knowing where else to turn, Brandon made the choice to seek treatment in 2017. Brandon now dedicates his life to helping other veterans in the same position. He's currently enrolled in the screenwriting program at Loyola Marymount University, and through his latest project, Firecracker, Brandon hopes to give voice to the countless thousands of service men and women who suffer from PTSD and other war-related injuries, while also honoring those who never made it home. But before we dig in, be sure to check us out at www.thatsoberguy.com for past episodes. There's also tons of resources there. You can contact us at sobriety@thatsoberguy.com. You could hit me up personally at Seth, that's SETH, @thatsoberguy.com. If you have any questions about whether you or a loved one may need help, you can contact Foundations Recovery Network at 877-714-1318. Foundations has nationwide residential and outpatient treatment facilities, and they can provide a confidential assessment to review the best treatment options for you or your loved one. So what's up, Brandon? I think we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. Kind of talk us up to What led you to making that decision to seeking treatment, and what attracted you, or where did you realize that you had a drinking problem? So we're just going to dive right into your story, and I'll let you kind of take it away from here, dude.
Well, thanks, man. First off, I appreciate you having me on, dude. I mean, I love what you guys are doing over there, and I'm stoked to be on here. But yeah, like you said in my bio, man, when I got out, I thought I'd be fine, you know. I thought everything was okay. Of course, the drinking and stuff was pretty big in the military. Um, you know, we used to run in formation, and if it didn't smell like a brewery, we didn't do something right the night before. You know what I'm saying?
Hell
And
yeah.
and so uh, that unfortunately, like, I mean, I had a past with addiction and alcoholism, drugs, and all that stuff before the military. In fact, one of the biggest reasons I joined the military was because I didn't really know what to do. In fact, it was after maybe my third treatment center, I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to go back to meetings because those didn't work. So what else? What else could give me some structure and a bed to sleep in? And so that's why I joined the military. It had nothing to do with like patriotism or anything like that. I just knew that it'd be a good job to have, and I knew I'd be stuck somewhere for a while, and I knew it was an honorable job. I knew it would help me become a man, and I was right in the fact that it helped me stop doing drugs. But like I said, drinking's a big part of the military. You know, we work hard and play even harder, and that stuff just caught up with me, man.
All right, Brandon. So you use joining the military to get away from the shit that you were in, to kind of the change your location, change your geographical location, right?
Right.
So what was your expectation when you first joined the military?
My expectation when I joined the military, I knew what I was getting into. I knew that I'd be doing some stuff that some people have never done and will never do. I knew it was an honorable job, and I knew it was a good way out of what I was doing. Honestly, I thought it would fix me. And you know, I got into it. I picked a job that you know, as a kid, I'd play in the backyard, shooting fake guns at each other with your friends and stuff. And you know, and so I was like, well, that's what I want to do. The stuff I saw in the movies, basically, you know.
Yeah, it was definitely glamorized as a kid. I remember doing that shit too.
Sure. Yeah. So I wanted to do something I could have some stories to tell, you know, and boy, did I get it, you know. Just, yeah, like I said, I mean, going to basic training and stuff like that, people yelling in your face, all that stuff. I knew all that was coming. I was very aware of what was coming, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So you got out of basic. Did you go? So I was in the Coast Guard. That's where I served.
Okay, cool.
Was in the Coast Guard. And we get our. I think they call it the MOS in the Army. Whatever your job was. So what was your job?
I was 11 Bravo, or Airborne 11 Bravo. So I was, I guess it's 11 Bravo Papa, which is infantry. And so after basic training, I attempted to go to Ranger Battalion, and they send you through this thing called RIP, or at the time it was called RIP. It's called RASP now, but it's a Ranger Indoctrination Program. And I went there for a while, didn't make it in, and all the people who don't make it into Ranger Battalion or Special Force get sent to the 82nd Airborne. So after a few weeks of being down there and Fort Benning at RIP, I got orders to North Carolina to go to the 82nd. And talk about you know, God laughing in your face. I mean, I joined the military to get away from meetings and stuff like that because I thought those didn't work. And the nickname of the 82nd Airborne is the All-American. So when I get to the 82nd Airborne, they slap a patch on my arm, and they're the All-Americans. So the patch has an airborne tab over the top, and underneath it says AA.
Hell yeah.
So I had to stare at the solution on my arm for 7 years, basically. And when I deployed, they give you another one to put on your other arm. So, yeah, I mean, like, I remember looking at it when I got the patch. I was like, man.
So you kind of alluded to the fact too, man. When you joined the military, you knew what you were getting into. You knew you were going to see some fucked up shit. You knew you were going to do some fucked up shit. Let's kind of get into the effect of the real effects of what that fucked up shit that you had to do, that you were ordered to do, the shit that you had to do to save you and your fellow troops' lives, your brothers' lives, and some of the shit that you saw in Haiti, man. Like, what kind of effect did that have on you, and when did you realize that the effects of seeing that, doing that kind of shit was serious?
Yeah, I knew what Haiti was my first deployment, and that really kind of put the fog over my eyes, I guess you could say, as to what fucked up shit looks like. You know what I mean? So by the time I got to Iraq, like, anything that I saw or anything that happened just was like, I was numb to it. I didn't even care because of Haiti. Haiti was by far the most disturbing. At the time, we were on the it's called GRF, the Global Response Force, and the 82nd, between the 82nd, 10th Mountain, and I think 3rd ID. I don't remember, another Army division. We rotate through what's called the Global Response Force. So basically, if anything goes down, North Korea decides to get a little frisky one day or something, they call us, and we usually have to be ready to go in 18 hours. And so we were on the Global Response Force at the time. And so I remember this was 2010. I was sitting with my buddy. We were in the movie theater watching Avatar, and we both got a phone call at the exact same time saying, get your ass to base, we're leaving. And we thought it was a drill because like every weekend they'd call us to test us, and we were like, oh, this is just a drill, blah blah blah. And then we're driving in, they're like, no, this is real. We think we're going to Afghanistan. We thought something, we lived through 9/11, so we thought maybe something really happened. We had no idea really what was going on, and that's when we found out it was Haiti, and it was an earthquake. And we're infantrymen, so we're like, that's not a war. What are we doing there?
Yeah, for sure.
And but turns out in '94, Haiti almost lost their entire government because of some people trying to overthrow the government. And since the earthquake happened, they thought it was really susceptible to that happening again. So they sent us down there for humanitarian aid, but also to make sure nothing crazy would happen there. So anyway, we got there. I believe we were there 2 days after the earthquake. We were ready to go right away, but they sent another battalion first and then another. And we were like the 3rd battalion to go. So we got there about 48 hours after the earthquake happened. And, in Haiti, over 200,000 people died in that earthquake. And you can't clean up 200,000 bodies in 48 hours,
I remember seeing just like the total devastation, from afar, some of the shit that they were putting on TV, dude. And I remember there was times that I had to fucking turn the TV off because I couldn't take it, dude. Like, I could only imagine stepping off of that plane being like, holy fuck.
Dude, it was eye-opening. I mean, they put us on the airfield for like 2 days. We were just sitting out there. I mean, they put us like in this grassy field. There was tarantulas everywhere. We were just laying in little hooches, little made tents that we had to make ourselves to sleep under, and tarantulas crawling all over the place. And we were just sitting there for 2 days wondering, like, when are we going to go in? When do we go in? And we could see like off in the distance, because we were on the airfield, you could see off in the distance the city of Port-au-Prince was just like leveled, and we're like, that's not going to be good when we get in there. And I remember the first night driving through Haiti, we got the order to go occupy this hospital, And I remember the first night driving through, you know, we're on the big LMTV. It's like basically like a flatbed 18-wheeler type thing, and or 2-ton. And we're all sitting in the back, and we're driving through at night, man. There's just little fires everywhere, rubble everywhere. There's people in the middle of the street, you know, crying over dead bodies. Like, and it's been like 4 days after the earthquake at this point, and there's still just bodies in the streets. The smell is something I'll never ever get out of my head. You know, because it's hot there too. It gets really hot. We got there in January, and it was already in the 80s. And yeah, that was eye-opening. I had never seen a third world country, let alone one that just had a 7.0 earthquake, you know. And the buildings there are made out of it's kind of sad. I mean, we would pick up the bricks. I remember picking up the bricks, and you could just drop them just from your waist, and they would just crumble into little pieces on the ground. They were made of like sand, basically. So their infrastructure was just shot, and you know, they needed our help. So anyway, we got to the hospital, and this place we stayed in was right across an alleyway. When I say hospital, it's not like an American hospital where you think like, you know, 7 stories, you know, like nice rooms and stuff and emergency room. It's like it was like a compound, like a walled off. Like imagine walling off like half of a neighborhood. Like each little building was a different wing of the hospital. So that's kind of what it was like. And we went and occupied this building. My entire company was in this one little building. So like 140 dudes, something like that. I don't even know. That number might be too high, but a lot of dudes in this building. And right across the alleyway was, come to find out, was a nursery, for a school where they taught women how to take care of kids. So like little babies and stuff like that. And that building was just leveled. And so we were staying over there, and they hadn't started clearing out that leveled building yet. So inside that building was just you know, a ton of dead Haitian women and children, basically. And like I said, the smell was awful. I mean, a 21-year-old kid, you know, or a 18-year-old kid, anybody really, just seeing that stuff for the first time. You know, I'm from California. I'm not used to that, you know, level of I don't even know what the word is for it. Just seeing it for the first time was definitely eye-opening. And I was there for 5 months, you know.
Yeah, so you bring up an important topic there, man. Like how did you deal and cope with that, or did you even have the opportunity to deal and cope with it while you were there, or was it just fucking go for 5 months?
Yeah, it was pretty much go. We were, you know, we did a bunch of missions where we would guard places as they pulled rubble out. We would hand out rice. We would do we were working every day. At one point, I remember working like once every 3 days. We were like, but that was like 3 or 4 months in. We finally got on like a rotation because things started to get better. But yeah, dealing with it wasn't. I tried to think about it now. Like at the time, we didn't really know how to deal with it. I mean, there was a lot of guys in my unit who had already been to Iraq, already been to Afghanistan, stuff like that. So they had seen some stuff before, you know. And for me, it was just like we dealt with it by just each other. We had not. I mean, it's not like I had alcohol or drugs in Haiti, you know. And we would talk about it. We started to laugh about it. I remember sitting there going like, we're changing, because I never would have laughed about seeing dead people or seeing suffering like that, you know what I mean? And now we're kind of like, not in like a sadistic way, but just kind of like, it was our only way to cope, you know, was to be like, oh, did you see that guy over there? Holy shit, that was crazy, right? You know, like stuff like that. And so when we got back from Haiti, I mean, the drinking really took off for me and for a lot of my friends, really. And but like I said, it was part of the culture.
Yeah, and that's just kind of what you
always
guys
drank.
did. You got together and
Yeah.
you got fucking hammered together, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah.
I remember too. You know, so I was a part of a lot of the recovery efforts after 9/11.
Okay.
I was stationed in New York, dude, and the fucking planes flew right over our boat. So I saw both the motherfuckers hit, right?
Jesus.
And then we were dispatched over to the buildings like right away. Saw a bunch of death and destruction, dude, and it was fucking horrible. And I remember, you know, probably after the third or fourth night, dude, just laying in my rack, like feeling no emotions over it, like seeing some shit that, you know, a boy from California, like you had previously referred to, like I've never seen any fucking thing like that. And I couldn't share, or I couldn't express my emotions over that, dude. And it kind of sounds like, you know, that's kind of what you guys were going through. And then in your off time, you were able to kind of get together and let loose and just get fucking hammered.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this one thing in Haiti happened where we were guarding a place and a dude on a motorcycle got killed like right in front of our eyes. And you know, pure accident, nothing, you know, nothing we did, nothing, you know, it just was a pure accident. On a motorcycle, got killed, you know. And now we're back home months later and we have a shot dedicated to him that we made, you know. And every time we'd all go to the bar, we were like, do the shot. We called it the cordon clothesline. Like, it was kind of fucked up thinking about it now, but like that was our way of dealing with it, you know. And you know, like, yeah, like you said, dude, like we had never seen shit like that before. So like, how do you deal with it? You know, the army doesn't teach you how to deal with feelings, you know.
No, definitely not. It's definitely a fucking man up, sack up, and shut the fuck up. Pretty much.
Exactly.
That's kind of, you know, I didn't have the opportunity to be deployed overseas and kind of see some of that stuff that was going on. But, you know, especially with our 9/11 efforts, man, like that's what it was, dude. It's like, this is your fucking job. If you can't handle it, you're going to have to find a way to fucking handle it. There wasn't counselors to go talk to or anything like that. And for me, you know, I most definitely turned to the bottle, and all the dudes that I hung out with, like, that's how we fucking coped.
Yeah.
And
totally.
then too, man, I also feel like if you know, you felt like you wanted to start talking about it, and you did start talking about it, you'd kind of be looked at like, you know, kind of like a pussy, like fucking sack up, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, we would, you know, as friends or whatever, we would talk about it with each other, but never in like a therapeutic type of way, you know. Like I said, there was mostly jokes and stuff like that, but like to go talk to somebody, you know, like asking for time off of work to go to an appointment to talk to a therapist or something like that, you know, like at the time it was like, oh, bro, let me catch you going to a therapist, you know, pussy, wuss, like, you know, stuff like that. Like, oh, you can't handle it. What are you gonna cry? You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of culture. You know, I loved it at the time. You know, I thought it was great. You know, but now looking back, it's and that's part of the problem is when guys get out, they keep that mentality. They don't realize that it's actually more of a manly move to go talk about it. You know, because the amount of wreckage in your life you can make just holding on to that stuff, it can be devastating.
Yeah, so getting into that, man. So you after Haiti, you went over to Iraq, and obviously, you know, you could probably tell 100,000 war stories of some of the shit that you saw in Iraq. So you got back from Iraq. How long were you back in the States before you were discharged, or were you in the States when you got discharged?
Yeah, I was. So I was in Iraq pretty much all of 2011. I got out I got home from Iraq in December 2011, and I got out of the military February 2015. So I was back for that. We'll call that about 3 years. I mean, we wanted to deploy. I mean, we're infantry. You know what I mean? You can't do your job stateside. You have to deploy to do your job at all. You know? Yeah, we tried. We thought we were going to get deployed a few times and stuff like that, but it just never happened. We went on that GRF rotation a few times, like I told you about earlier. and it just never ended up happening. But yeah, after Iraq, it's about 3 years before I got out.
So as you were getting close to your end of service date, man, what were the thoughts in your head? Like, man, fuck this shit. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna take life on. I'm gonna. What were those thoughts looking like?
Oh, I could not wait to get out, man. I mean, the grass is always greener, like people say, but dude, I was like, I am so over this shit. We weren't deploying, there's a couple times it got close. We thought we might deploy and then no, and I was like, fuck, man, like I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm gonna go do something that I want to do. I'm gonna go do something that means something to me, and so finally, by the time I got out, dude, it was like, oh, if I had to wait another day, it would have been the longest fucking day of my life, like I could not get out soon enough. And it was a total change from when I first joined, I was like, all right, let's do this. And now at the end, I was just done, man. I was tired, really. And in those 3 years from Iraq to when I got out, the drinking I took it to a whole new level. I mean, a lot of my friends were either getting out or going somewhere else, getting new duty stations, getting new orders. A lot of my friends became recruiters, drill sergeants, just going up in the ladder, basically, the Army. So I was just sitting there at Fort Bragg in North Carolina in the 82nd Airborne going like, damn, man, all my homies are gone. And, what do I do? So during the weekends, instead of going out and partying with all my friends, I was sitting in my barracks room, watching movies and blacking out by myself, And I thought it was fine because, it's cool, whatever. That's just what I do. It's the weekend. I deserve this, And so 3 years of that, long weekends of like 4-day weekends in the military. Oh my, I just drink from sun up to sundown. And so 3 years of that really took a toll on me, man. I was starting to get out of shape. I was starting to shake in the mornings and stuff. I remember I used to get up and run to work. It's like my battalion was like a mile away from where I lived. I used to run to work to try and sweat off the booze a little bit from the night before. So I didn't stink as much as I think I would have if I would have watched. Stupid idea. It probably didn't work at all, but I remember I used to get to work and people would be like, oh man, someone smells like booze. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's weird. Someone does smell like booze. And I just knew for a fact it was me.
And so at that point, though, it was like normal, right? Like it wasn't a big deal. Like it was you guys kind of laughed at it, right?
Yeah, we laughed at it. I mean, I got a paycheck every 2 weeks. I had a place to live. It wasn't a problem in my eyes at the time anyway. And, so when I got out, I just kept that pattern going and it just got worse and worse.
When was it that you kind of had that moment, like, I can't fucking do this shit anymore. I can't fucking take it. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So, yeah, I was going to school. I'd gotten out and moved back to California and moved down to LA. And I was going to school, that wonderful, wonderful GI Bill was helping me out a lot. Plus some disability from some injuries I had in the military. Life was good. I take that back. It was terrible, but as far as on the outside, it was fine. I was getting a paycheck, I had an apartment, I had a car, I had everything I needed, but I also had a lot of time, and so I would drink just nonstop. If I didn't have to go to class, I would just drink sun up to sundown. And so finally, after about a year and a half of being out of the military, the idea started to, I knew it was becoming a problem. I was puking every single morning, and it wasn't like a cute puke, like a sorority girl or something. It was like a demon screaming into the toilet, just trying to get out whatever was in my body from the night before. And I knew it was taking a toll on my body. I was gaining a ton of weight, just bloated. I looked terrible, big sunken in eyes. I had like 2 black eyes basically. and and it just, but it wasn't really the physical stuff that started to bother me, because I could drink away the physical pain. That's easy, The alcohol still started to work for that, but the alcohol stopped working for the emotional pain. Like I said, kind of like you said in your introduction, like just kind of quieting down the noise in my head. 4th of July, I'd sleep, I'd drink as much as I can, try and black out through the whole thing, stuff like that. I reached a point where I remember sitting in my bathroom on that cold tile floor one more time, just thinking like, I can't do this. I think I was 29 at the time. I was 29 years old, and I remember going, I'm going to be in my 30s now and still doing this. And I'm like, that's fucked up. And then I thought, oh, if I do this in my 30s, I'll definitely be doing it in my 40s if I make it to my 40s. Because I knew the alcohol I was drinking enough to kill me. And so I had kind of that moment of clarity, that where I was like, okay, I think, all that AA stuff, all that recovery stuff I've heard in the past, it seemed like I should start thinking about it again, And then I remember one day, like I said, on that tile floor one more time, just going like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and do this again. And I think 6 months later, I got sober. Because it turned into that thing. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And just 6 months of that was just it was just hell on my mind, my body. I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I think we get really good at averting, the things that are good for us. I still struggle with this on a daily basis, right? Like I keep telling myself, yeah, man, I'm going to get back into the gym. And I think it's just, it's funny the way that our mind works. Like we avert and we push off the stuff that's going to help us succeed or help us to be, feel better or to be better people. And it's so crazy the way that the addiction works, for sure. So during this time, man, did you have, I'm sorry, during this time, did you have was there any thoughts in your head? Like, damn, man, I don't know if this is just me, the addict, the way that I'm acting and thinking, or I'm sure that as you were getting out of the military, they probably talked to you a little bit about PTSD. Did those thoughts come into your head that, man, these are just the effects of PTSD and the only way that I could deal with them right now is by drowning them?
Yeah, I think I would blame it on the PTSD a lot, because I got diagnosed with PTSD in 2014 when I was getting out of the military. So I knew I had it. I would use that excuse going like, oh, well, it's just PTSD. This is what I use. Alcohol wasn't my problem. It was my solution. That was my drug. That's what I use. Some people use Zoloft. I use, Seagram 7. And so it got to the point where, kind of like I said, that last 6 months before I got sober, I knew it was alcoholism, because all the stuff I'd been through before the military. Like I knew I had this kind of allergy. I knew that once I picked up, I couldn't stop. I knew that I had no control over what happened after I took a drink. But that the thing that I've learned now in sobriety, it wasn't about what happened after I took a drink. It was what happened before I took a drink.
Yeah.
That insanity, that kind of going like, why would you take a drink when I knew what would happen if I took a drink. I knew I would end up feeling worse. I knew I'd probably do something stupid or something, you know what I mean? Like or not do something stupid, or I just lock myself in my bedroom for 6 days at a time, like I knew that was going to happen, but I kept picking up a drink. That to me is alcoholism. That's why I finally started to go like, I need to get back into recovery. Because it was my only option. I could go to all the PTSD clinics. I could go to all the stuff the VA has to offer, which I do still do. But that, that's just to kind of, keep that muscle going. But like, as I knew the only way to quit drinking was to go back to and get back into recovery.
So finally, you realize, like, fuck it, dude, I can't take it no more. The pushing it off for 6 months had kind of worn on you. So what finally happened that you took that plunge?
So the day before I got sober, I remember I used to, I'll tell it in detail too, because it's kind of weird. But the day before I got sober, I used to order booze to my house because I just couldn't leave. I was very isolated, and so I ordered booze, and I always got Seagram 7 whiskey, and the guy accidentally brought me Seagram's gin.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and I was,
You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, so I was shaking like a leaf. I couldn't tell him to go back, so I was like, well, all right, I'll drink it, So I took it from him, and and that was just like that was really like just like, they talk about pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. For some reason, getting the wrong booze and drinking it anyway was just like, I mean, it was a accumulation of things, but like, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Basically, I was drinking gin, and I hate gin. I don't even like it, and I was drinking it to feel, to not shake anymore, And so I drank as much as I can. I just started to break down, man. Like, everything, the past, my entire life, I was just thinking about that day, and the booze was just not working. Everything, I was just trying to quiet it down, drink more. And they talk about it sometimes in the rooms where you just like you drink yourself sober, and that's kind of what I did that day. I drank just an incredible amount of alcohol. I don't know how I could even handle it, and nothing happened. Didn't get the shake stopped, yeah, but that was about it. And I remember kind of just breaking down, and I called. I finally like had the balls to call that veteran suicide hotline, because I had, I didn't know who else. I didn't know what else to do. I knew I could have gone to a meeting, but I didn't. I was too scared. I didn't want to go drunk. I knew I could call. There's some people, but I was like, I'm just gonna call this guy who doesn't know me. Somebody who's probably there to just help. So they didn't have to see me. So I was like, all right, I'll call him. And so I called him. And honestly, I couldn't tell you what he said to me. I couldn't tell you what he did. I wish I knew his name to this day, because that guy saved my life. He basically, I remember he told me, since I'm all enrolled in the VA and everything. I remember he told me, don't worry about getting into a program. He told me to go to the emergency room. So I was like, okay. So I went. So what I did, because so then I got off the phone with him. I said, I'm not going to do anything to hurt myself. Don't worry. Like, thank you for your time. I'm going to do what you said. So then I knew I could. Then I put the phone down, and I sat there kind of thinking like, all right, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? And I knew for a fact, if I called someone I know and told them exactly what was going on in my life, that I might kind of back myself in the corner and actually have to get sober. So what I did is I called my dad, and I called my dad, and I told him everything, and I could hear in his voice, he's like, oh shit, not this again, I had to give him the bad news again, that, it's all come back. It's all, reached the point of no return. I have to do something. So basically I kind of like set like a roadblock for myself, like, okay, now my dad knows. So I have to do this. I told him what the guy told me to do. He said, yes, do it. He said, pour out all your booze and go to the emergency room now. I was like, okay, I will. So I hung up the phone, and I was like, well, I still have some booze left. So I was like, it was about 8 o'clock at night at this point. So I was like, I'm going to drink the rest of the booze, fall asleep, and then go to the VA tomorrow morning. And I knew in my head, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the VA in the morning, but you know what? I still got booze. I'm an alcoholic, man. I had to finish it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. That's
And
what we do
so,
best, right? Is we
yeah, we drink. Yeah. So I finished it and I passed out. And then the next morning I woke up and something still had a hold of me, man. Something said in my head, you know, that just go, dude. Don't drink. Don't do it today. Today's the day. It's finally time. And I went to the VA. I couldn't get there fast enough, man. I was shaking like a leaf. And I went into the emergency room. I looked at the lady at that poor lady at the emergency room. I looked at her. I looked her in the face. I said, I'm an alcoholic, and if I stop drinking, I'm afraid something bad is going to happen to me. And her eyes got all big, you know, like, oh, okay, like come on back. So they put me in the hospital. They put, you know, a banana bag, IVs all in me and stuff, and to rehydrate me. I remember I had to like piss in a cup, and my piss looked like Coca-Cola. I was so dehydrated. And yeah, they did a bunch of blood tests on me. The doctor came in and he told me, he said, he did that thing. So how much do you drink? You know, I've gotten that question 1,000 times before. I always lied about it. But I just, for some reason, in something inside of me, it was just like, just be honest with them. Just be honest. And I told him exactly how much I drank and what I was doing. And he's like, yeah, it shows. He told me I was 29 at the time. He told me my age wasn't on the blood work. He would have thought I was a 60-year-old alcoholic.
God
Like
damn.
that's how bad my body was just starting to shut down. And so from there, you know, the VA social workers started to come in and they got me into like a detox program there at the VA. And as soon as I got to the VA, man, I mean, I had a car, so I just hopped in. I was the second day I was there, I just hopped in my car and started going back to meetings. And that's, you know, the rest is history, I guess.
That's awesome, dude. So, so what's your sobriety date?
January 18th, 2017.
Awesome. So you'll be coming up on
18 months here in a couple weeks.
Fuck yeah, strong work, dude. Strong work. So Brandon, let's get into your project that you're working on, dude. Firecracker.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. What led up to that, and let's talk about that shit.
For sure. Well, I mean, without giving too much away about the film, you know, I still want people to see it, but it's based off what I used to be like and what I do now, basically. And it follows a alcoholic suffering from PTSD on his last day drinking, and he doesn't know it's his last day, of course. And so it follows him, and it also follows another guy and another character, and that other character is somebody who's been sober a while and who basically that's all he does is help other veterans. You know, he's the other guy he's the guy on the other side of the phone answering those phone calls when people call that 1-800 number. You know, that's what he does, and it's about them two and their day, and that day just happens to be the 4th of July. So that's kind of what the story's about. And you know, me, when I started writing this thing, you know, because that's what I moved to LA for. I wanted to get into the film industry. I wanted to write. I wanted to direct. I wanted to do all that stuff. But alcohol just kept slowing me down. And as soon as I got sober, it was like just things just started opening up in my life that I never thought were possible, you know? And that's only because I put my recovery first. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have to do what's asked of me in recovery before I could do any of this stuff. So yeah. So anyway, so when I started writing the story, I was like, I have to tell people this, because when I was in Iraq, we lost 2 guys to an IED explosion. the whole time we were there, we only lost 2. I mean, compared to some other battalions and divisions, we were lucky, you know, only losing 2. But since I've been back, I've lost 6 friends to suicide.
God,
and those are just the ones I could think of off the top of my head that I really knew well. I know there's a couple others whom I didn't know very well, but in me personally, I know 6 of guys I've met all through my military career. One guy from basic training, he took his own life. A few other guys from my battalion, from my brigade, took their own life. Like it's that the 2 to 6 ratio doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense how we can lose 2 guys overseas and 6 since coming home. The war takes lives, but coming home, it's a whole nother fight, you know? And I just felt like, and every single one of them, by the way, every single one they were drinking or doing drugs, because that's the only thing they knew how to use to quiet down that noise in their head, you know? So when I was writing this, I knew I had to tell my story because I thought maybe it would help some people, and that's what I hope happens, you know.
Yeah, so it's you touch on a couple big things there, dude. Like what our sobriety brings to us. I know for me, you know, I'm doing things today that I would have never imagined doing, you know, or when I was drinking and drugging, like I would have never done. The podcast being a big one, dude, I think it's super important for us. You know, I almost feel like we have the obligation to get the word out there and to share our story with others, man, to show that, you know, there is hope, dude, and that they're not the only ones going through this shit.
Right.
And although it may be hard as fuck to reach out, man, is one thing that I've found, dude, if I just reached out to one person, like I got like 4 or 5 calls, you know what I mean? And it's crazy. The recovery community, man, it's so loving and compassionate. And, you know, that's what my hope is, you know, is to tell the person out there that's still suffering, like, dude, you're not alone. You know, some of those thoughts that in your head, you know, there are millions and millions of people out there that are struggling. And then there's even better news is that there's tens of millions that recover from it. Right. And I think that's the important thing, is that there is a way out. You know, it's hilarious, dude. Like my wife tells me to this day, dude, like, you ain't fucking special, Seth. You know what I mean?
Right.
The shit that you've been through in your life, you're not the only one that's gone through that shit.
Exactly.
And I think that's a very, very important message out there to the one that still struggles. Like, dude, you ain't fucking you ain't special. You know, what I mean? All you got to do is reach out. You know, getting back to what sobriety has brought, you know, myself and I think even you, Brandon, like doing shit that you would have never even imagined. I mean, even just the little stuff, like this morning, I spent probably 3-4 hours out on the river in a kayak, bro, where I kayaked maybe 4 or 5 miles. I would have never done that shit in my addiction. You know what I mean? It's the little stuff. Talking to you right now, dude, like we would have never connected if it wasn't for, you know, our past struggles and our current, I hate to call them successes, but they kind of are, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what sobriety has brought to me and to you. Like, we wouldn't be doing this shit if we weren't sober.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the things that only a year and a half I've been sober, and the things that have happened in a year and a half are just I would have never thought that I'd be making a movie and that people would want to see it, let alone make it in a year and a half is incredible to me. I mean, and like you said, you were on a kayak before. Yesterday I was with my girlfriend and I was riding fucking Vespas around, dude, like riding around the beach down in Manhattan Beach, just going like, I remember looking out, the sun was setting, I'm on a fucking Vespa. I mean, I never thought I'd be on a Vespa, let alone like anywhere like outside with like you know, I just saw my girlfriend, I saw the beach, the sunset, it was perfect. You know what I mean? And I could not have been happier with my life. You know, it's like those little things, man, that sobriety gives me. That's just, it's just, it's hard. It's hard to put it into words how grateful I am every day, that how lucky I am that something spoke to me that day, you know, and got me to get back into the recovery.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I think it's also important to say too, man, that you know, although life is great in sobriety, I know for me, like that doesn't mean that I still have my struggles, that I still struggle
Dude,
with shit. Like
tell me about it.
I still have to I have to deal with sickness, you know, in my family. I still deal with death. Like life still happens, but what sobriety has brought into me is a way to deal
Yeah,
and a way to kind of cope with what life throws at us, man. I truly, it's my belief that, you know, we're kind of born into this world that is so fucked up, right? And I drank and drug because I had no idea on how to deal with that shit. I had no idea on how to deal with my feelings, and I didn't want to fucking deal with my feelings. But for me today, like I get to deal with my feelings. I
yeah,
get to hurt. I get to laugh. I get to smile. I get to cry. And that is like the biggest thing in sobriety for me, that I get to do that shit, right? And be fucking okay with it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, life happens, man. I mean, like today, man. I mean, for your listeners, they may not know I was an hour and a half late to this fucking thing. You know, I, I, life happens, dude. I was stressing out. I was driving through LA traffic, like freaking out, looking at my watch, looking at like, oh my god, I'm gonna be this 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 this, there's one chance I have to be on a podcast and I'm gonna fuck it up. I'm a piece of shit. You know, like oh my god, like it's over. You know, I still go through that stuff. You know, and bad things happen to people all the time, dude. It's just life. You know, and I get to deal with that stuff. I get to figure out that it's gonna be all right. You know, like I could get through this. I don't have to turn to a bottle every time things don't go my way. You know.
Yeah, for sure. So what is your your recovery program look like today, Brandon?
Dude, I mean, it looks like me. I get, my daily routines. I get up, I pray, that's what my sponsor told me to do. So I do it. I call other alcoholics because that's what my sponsor told me to do. So I do it. I go to meetings probably 5 to 7 days a week. I'm getting ready to go to one now here in a little while. I have commitments at those meetings. I try to, as soon as I get to a meeting, I try to find a newcomer that looks lonely. He doesn't like you said, man. Like I have to find the guy that I see desperation on his face. That's really what keeps me going, is finding new guys and finding, especially. I mean, I'm a big proponent of the guys helping the guys, the women helping the women. Like I have to find a guy when I get there that looks like he needs help. And I also, I reach out to veterans who need help. I'm connected with a lot of the veterans in recovery, and just try my best to give back what was, so freely given to me. Because without that, I got nothing.
Yeah.
I put my recovery first above everything. Like I mentioned, I have nice things now. I have a car. I have a girlfriend. I have a nice apartment. I have all these things. But if I don't put recovery first, it's all gone, all of it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I can't say that better myself, man. I truly attribute everything, um, materialistic or not,
Yeah,
to my sobriety today, as well. And knowing too, like if I don't continue to work on my sobriety on a daily, sometimes minute by minute fucking basis, like all that
yeah,
shit could be taken away from me.
yeah.
um,
Whatever I put in front of my recovery is the first fucking thing to go, for
yep,
sure.
yep,
If I put my job in front of my recovery, that's gone first. If I put whatever, girlfriend in front, it's gone. Like everything, even like you said, like not just material stuff, my emotional state of mind is all thanks to my recovery. You know, I just have had a complete change in perception. You know, a new pair of glasses, I guess, as people, you know, as I think you know what I'm talking about there. It's just like I see the world in a different lens today, and it's all thanks to putting 110% into my recovery every day.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So Brandon, we're going to wrap this thing up, man. To the alcoholic or the addict that still struggles out there, if you could tell them one thing, what would that be? Or maybe even two things, three things. If you know, what word of advice could you give to the alcoholic or addict that still struggles out there?
Dude, my biggest thing for me was when I first came in, it doesn't matter what people think about you, man. That was the biggest part of me getting sober is like I felt like I could handle this myself. I could do this. Like, you know, like I'm a man. I'm a fucking paratrooper. I could handle this shit on my own, you know. And I couldn't, you know. I needed to reach out, you know. And what it took for me was calling a phone number on a business card that, and you know, and still I knew the guy couldn't see my face. I didn't even tell him my name, and I was afraid of what he'd think of me, you know. That just knowing that if you reach out, if you call somebody, they're not going to think less of you. They're not going to. And that was a big thing for me, because I was so worried about what people think, my image or whatever. I don't know. Like I really wish people would reach out more, you know, because every time someone commits suicide or dies of a drug overdose or whatever, you know, people keep thinking about what could I have done? What could I have done better to help him or her? And the truth is, you couldn't have done anything, man. It was up to me, and it was up to me to reach out and really just ask for that help. And when I got here, you know, I guess the second thing would be just honesty, full and unbridled honesty. I had to be honest with myself and others. I could not get sober if I was lying to people. Couldn't do it. If I was lying, I'd be dead. You know, I've tried that before. I've tried to get in. Like, it goes back to that perception thing, man. I'm terrified of what people think about me, you know? And so I always had to lie to cover that up. And you know what? Since I got introduced a little honesty into my life, here I am, still sober. You know, that was the first thing I had to do. Everything else will come. So
Brandon, if someone wants some more information on the project that you're working on or any of your past projects, where could they hit you up at or find out some more information about you?
They could go to www.brandondemchack.com. That's BrandonDemchack.com. And that's the website I got set up. They could see some of my past projects. They could see current projects. Seed and Spark campaign will be on my website. They could go to that, and if they feel like you know, they want to try and get the word out there themselves, they could donate a few bucks, or even if they could just share it on their social media. I mean, it would help us out a ton, because, you know, I truly believe that this is an important story for not only veterans but alcoholics. I think the story needs to be told, and they could help.
All right, Brandon, right on, man. Thanks for tuning in today. Brandon, it's been an honor. It's been great. Fucking super stoked on Firecracker. I will most definitely be following that. If you guys listening out there want to find Brandon, we will link his website and funding campaign into the show notes. Much respect, love, and keep your blood clean.